Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'll be doing my May wrap-up. During the month of May, I managed to read about 21 books. A lot of them are manga, so hence the high number. But I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in here so this video isn't too long. During May, I participated in the Bout of Books Readathon, and I read all of these books here. I'm not going to go into a big wrap-up for these right now because I already had a separate wrap-up for Bout of Books, and I'll link that down below so you can check it out in more detail. Just to go over some of the titles I read. I read some short stories in the Doctor Who series, one for the third and fourth Doctor. I really enjoyed those. I continued with a manga series called Ajin Demi-Human. This is by Gamin Sakurai. Very creepy horror kind of one. I finished The Drifting Classroom by Katsuo Umezu, reading volumes 9, 10, and 11. Had a really good wrap-up. I was satisfied with the ending. I read One Piece, Volume 1, and this is by Ichiro Oda. I was pleasantly surprised. I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but I really liked the character. Again, more detail in that wrap-up link down below. I also picked up Terraform Mars, and this is by Yu Sasuga, and sort of a sci-fi manga. Really nice, big, huge format, and awesome artwork. I'd read this once as an ARC copy, and I wasn't too thrilled with it, but when I picked up this physical copy and flipped through it, I saw a lot of the dialogue and translation seemed to be different. And I thought I'd give it another try, and you can check out my thoughts on that down below. My favorite book of the entire readathon was John Wyndham's Chalky. I'd never read anything by John Wyndham. Really pleasantly surprised by this modern classic. Really quite short, but very well written, and I'm looking forward to reading more of this author's works. I had started this other graphic novel before the end of the readathon, but didn't manage to finish it, so I didn't include it in that wrap-up. But that was American-Born Chinese by Zhene Luen Yang. I'd heard a lot about this particular graphic novel. Lots of people seem to be reading it. I finally got around to picking it up. It's got some pretty nice artwork, really bright, colorful. That it doesn't take up more of the page. I thought it was, the way they just used like the center part of it. But the artwork was pretty nice, really bright and colorful. It seems to be a book of like dealing with acceptance in society, all sorts of societies. There's a lot of strange characters in here. Most notably, the Monkey King. He wants to be recognized as one of the immortal gods in heaven, and he's not accepted at first. And there's also a Chinese American by the name of Jin Wang. He just wants to be accepted as just a regular American kid. And then we also have an American boy by the name of Danny, who has an obnoxious Chinese cousin who comes to visit, and it kind of affects his, I might say, reputation and things at school. Their stories all sort of mesh by the end, and it all kind of ties together. Overall, the whole story was just okay for me. I like the story with the boys better than the Monkey King, but it definitely plays a very important part in the story. Overall, I gave it 3 stars. The BookTube Manga Club chose a particular mangaka to read for the month of May as opposed to a specific title or series. And that particular mangaka was Yu Watase, and I chose Arata the Legend to read. And I really was pleasantly surprised by this. I read the first 2 volumes of it. I haven't been able to check out any more from my library, but I'm hoping to continue with the series. I gave Volume 1 4 stars and Volume 2 5 stars. Volume 1 does a lot of setting up the storyline, and Volume 2 really gets into a lot more action. But what we have are these 2 boys, both named Arata, and one lives in sort of modern-day Japan, and another one lives in this sort of bizarre fantasy world ruled by like a matriarchal society. And the princess that rules the society, someone tries to kill, and he's sort of blamed for it, and he takes off on the run. The other Arata in modern-day Japan is bullied by his fellow students. He's been bullied all his life, even in his new school now. It seems to be starting again. And he wanders off into the forest. Before you know, the 2 end up transferring into each other's world and taking the place of the other one. They sort of, they still retain their memories and everything. They know who they are, but they're confused by the other people around them. They seem to look exactly alike, although you can't really tell by that. I thought, with the hair color and everything, thought they looked different enough. But they ended up, now he's on the run for the attempted murder of this particular princess. It's just a really intriguing story. There's lots of great action in it. I'm curious to see, like I said, where the rest of the story is going to go. Let me show you some. There's some cool images, lots of really nice paneling work in here. But I like the characters a lot, and I really want to continue this. I'm hoping my library will pick up some more, otherwise I'll end up having to purchase the series as well. Next, I listened to an audiobook entitled On What Grounds by Cleo Coyle. This is the first volume in the series, and it revolves around coffee shop called the Village Blend. And what happens is one of the workers, the baristas, who's sort of closing up for the night, they end up finding her the next day down at the bottom of the stairs, very seriously injured. And the police believe it's just an accident, but the main character within the book, whose name I can't think of right now, she believes there's foul play involved and starts investigating the mystery behind that. It's chock full of coffee references, as you can imagine, and including recipes, too, and coffee making tips. You better love coffee to get into this. It left me a bit, and I'll excuse the pun, but left me a bit over-caffeinated. I could love coffee, but not to that extent, and I just felt totally bogged down with references to that. The mystery itself wasn't all that interesting. The characters were so-so. This is not a series I think I'll be continuing with. Overall, I only gave it 2 stars. I continued with one of my ebook series that I've been reading, which is Kelly's Diary. This is volume 6 by Thomas Jenner and Angeline Perkins. And it's basically a zombie story told from the point of view of Kelly, a young girl. I want to say it began when she was 6 years old, and several years have kind of gone by now, but the previous volume was very, very dark. Some really harsh things that she's had to face, and some that people might find, I guess, triggering in terms of rape scenes and things like that. It's very, very, very dark. Definitely for mature readers. This particular volume leaves us with Kelly searching for her sister, and it has a really kind of curious ending. I have to say I'm curious to see where it's going to go next, because it's taking a bit of a twist for our character. She's definitely had to go through quite a bit, and I can see her personality just changing at this point. So I really am fascinated by this series. There goes my phone. I'm really fascinated by this series, like I said, to see where it goes. I gave this one overall 5 stars. Definitely recommend it. I finally finished the Vampire Knight series. There are 19 books overall in this, so I read 18 and 19. And actually, just prior to that, I actually read 16 and 17 to kind of refresh my memory, because it's been a while since I was able to pick up any volumes. This is by Matsuri Hino. And this is probably, say, one of the ones that kind of got me back into reading manga as well, because I started this some time ago. Absolutely love the series. I think it had a phenomenal ending. Bittersweet, but I think it worked. It was perfect. I gave 5 stars to each of these. If you're looking for a really good manga to get into, not excessively long, 19 volumes is kind of long, but not compared to some of these that are up into the 70 volume range, which is just ridiculous. But I love the characters. Yuki, that's Yuki and Kaname, and that's Zero. It's basically Yuki is found out in the woods, almost being attacked by a vampire, and Kaname, who happens to be a vampire, comes to her rescue, brings her to a school, which is Cross Academy, where she ends up being adopted by the headmaster there and taking on the name of Cross, so she becomes Yuki Cross. And also, a young boy named Zero is also found after his family is attacked by vampires. He's the sole survivor. He's also brought to the school, and together the two, they end up becoming kind of guardians of the night and day class. The night class is made up of vampires. The day class is made of humans. And the head of the headmaster is basically trying, you might say, an experiment to try and get humans to coexist with vampires at this school. There is so much interplay between, the vampire characters and the humans, and trying to get them, get society to accept them. So it's not like vampires are living in hiding, although it seems like the day class doesn't seem to be quite aware that they're vampires. It's kind of bizarre how that kind of worked. But you have to read the story. It actually does work. And I just love, there's a bit of a, as you can imagine, a romantic triangle between these 3 characters. But I found the story fascinating. Love the artwork, and the covers are just fantastic. I would love to own this whole series, but I've read them from the library all this time, and I don't know if I can invest all that, but it's fantastic. I highly recommend this series. Then I listened to the audio version of The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This one, so many people have talked about it. I've been curious about it for some time and wanted to pick it up. It's basically about a college in New England, and want to say it was Vermont, I think it was. But it follows a group of students, and one of them they end up killing him. And that's the main part of the story. It's not like any giveaway, that's the synopsis. And it starts out with one main character discussing the death, and then you see what leads up to it throughout the story. I had a hard time getting through this. First of all, Donna Tartt does the narration for the audio, and she drove me up the wall, probably the worst narration I've heard. The characters are all pretentious snobs. I couldn't stand any of them, including the main character that we're listening to, who's a male student, so to have a female narrator as your male student, it's okay for like side characters, but when it's the main character, I want them to match in terms of the voice and just connecting with that character. I had a hard time connecting with any of them. I didn't like any of them. They spend most of the time either smoking or drinking. I apologize for my dog. You begin to wonder, are they ever even in class? It seems like they're always doing something else other than studying. So it was a weird mix. The writing was strange. Overall, I did not like it at all. I only gave it 1 star. I read Unsold, book 3 in the Unwind Dystology, as it's called, by Neil Shusterman. Love this dystopian book. Absolutely fabulous. I can't wait to dive into the next one. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of detail. It was a bit slow at first, kind of establishing where the characters are, because, of course, they keep getting separated and going off in their own ways. But that was a little slow. There's some aspects where they're on a reservation that time just seems to come to a grinding halt. But once the story started rolling through, unfortunately more than halfway through, then the story really picked up and ends on a really good cliffhanger. So overall, I gave this one 4 stars. Then I decided to pick up Colorless, Tsukuru, Tazaki and it's Years of Pilgrimage, get the whole title into, by Haruki Murakami. This book just intrigued me by the format of it alone. I think it's like a super, super cool cover. What we have is Tsukuru Tazaki. When he's in school, he meets these 4 other friends, and together they have this really strong bond. They do everything together. 4 of his friends, their names sort of translated, have a color in them. One's red, blue, white, and black, but Tsukuru Tazaki does not translate into any color, so he is thus colorless. The book sort of represents those colors within the end papers, which I thought was really cool. And in fact, did not notice that till a few minutes ago. I thought that was hilarious. Tsukuru, his goal is when he grows up, or graduates and things, is to build train stations. So we also have sort of references to lines, and train lines and maps and things through here. What we have is his character is at one point, for some unknown reason, shut out from the rest of the group. One of them approaches him and says they no longer want to talk to them. He didn't want him to contact him by phone or anything. And he accepts this. And I could not understand why he would accept this without questioning it or talking to some of the other members or, to find out details. It takes him, I think it's 16 years before his girlfriend recommends that he, tie up these loose ends to find out what the reason was. He has gone through lots of depression and things like that over the course of these years, even attempting suicide. And he needs his girlfriend to finally snap out of it. Let's go find out what happened, get those answers. And I just found it's just very slow. The character, like I said, was just odd. Why would you just accept that? And then you find out the reasons, and still, I didn't understand why his friends acted the way they did and did not try to explain something to him instead of leaving him out in the cold. Overall, it was just weird. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm a big Murakami fan. It's still going to take a few more books, I guess, to find out, which I'll be reading. We don't have it here, Kafka on the Shore this month, because it's Japanese June, and reading books all focused by either Japanese authors or literature. But I'll give them another shot, but was not thrilled with this one at all. Overall, I just gave it 2 stars. Last 2 books are the favorite books of this entire month. I read The Ocean at the End of the Lane, finally, by Neil Gaiman. Kind of a magical realism type book, very, very skinny. We have our main character, whose name, again, I can't get in my head. It doesn't mention it, but he is a middle-aged man. He returns back to his family home town for a funeral. His actual home is no longer there, but he remembers a farm down the lane where he'd met this girl named Letty, and she was an interesting kind of character, has some sort of magicalness about her, lack of a better word. She considered the pond at the end of the lane an ocean, as she referred to it, hence the title of it. And when the two of them were children, they were down by this ocean, they somehow unleashed something evil. And it has come back to kind of like haunt him. So as he returns for this funeral, these memories sort of come flooding back that had kind of left him for some time. And you kind of relive this thing that he went through as a child. I happened to listen to this on audio rather than actually physically read it because I saw that it was by Neil Gaiman narrating it. And anytime you can get a Neil Gaiman book read by the author, I highly recommend it. You feel like a kid again listening to some magical story, and I was just so captivated by the writing, by the characters, by his voice, that I was just pulled right into it. It's a little creepy, I have to say, what they unleash and what happens and things like that. It was really, really scary. I thought not ghost-like per se or gruesomeness, but just a creepy kind of feel to it. So definitely recommend this to anybody, if you're a Neil Gaiman fan or not. I think you'll find it really good. And I gave it 5 stars. And the last book I read was the conclusion to a trilogy. It was the Deadland Saga by Rachel Ochs, and this is Deadland Rising. This is one of my all-time favorite zombie series I have ever read. Just such captivating characters in Cash and Clutch. Our two main characters who kind of travel through hell to hopefully find paradise at the end. From the zombie hordes, which are just, when I was picturing these in my head, just acres of them. I mean, awesomeness, the wonderful writing, like I said, the characters are the best part of this story. I wanted to spend more time with them and find out what's going to happen to them now, you know, at the end of this book, and just wanted more. So it was just so good, so good. I highly recommend this series. I give this one 5 stars. So overall, that was my month of May. Sorry if this is a bit rushed, but my wrap-ups always seem to be so long. So let me know if you guys have read any of these. I definitely recommend picking this one up. And John Wyndham, I'm going to try more of his titles. Like I said, I really enjoyed those. So that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.